Hi, and welcome to the Voices of Persevere podcast. I'm Jake, your host, along with my beautiful and wonderful co host, Emma Graham. Emma, say hello to our viewers.
Hi, I am, as always, excited to be here.
Awesome. So glad that you're with us today. And we have a very special guest with us today, Miss Tiana Turman. Tiana, how are you?
Hi, I am doing good, and I'm also excited to be here today.
Awesome.
Yay!
Well, we're excited that you're here. Tiana is not only a graduate of Persevere, but is now one of our instructors and is doing just amazing things in graphic design and media. So we're excited for her to be with us today. Tiana, as we get started, just tell us a little bit about you and what day to day looks like for Tiana.
All right, so a little bit about me. I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm 33 years old. I feel like 3 is my favorite number, so I'm loving 33. Um, but I also have a 3-year-old, so once again, three threes. We're winning right now. A day to day looks like for me. I sometimes feel like a stay-at-home wife that works also because I work from home all the time, but I also in between that making snacks for my son, keep making sure he's still learning his ABCs because he's not in daycare or preschool yet. And then just lesson planning, emails, talking to people, my students. I'm really loving this day to day. I love it because I'm able to be of service for Persevere teaching and just communicating and also learning. And I'm also enrolled in school. So when I'm not teaching,
Awesome.
I'm actually learning. And it's really awesome when I'm learning something and then a student comes with a question and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I'm in school because I just learned about that the other day. We got this. So that is awesome for me because that's been on my to-do list to get back in school. And I'm proud of myself for doing that. Almost done. I'll have my bachelor's in computer science next
Awesome.
year. So
Yay!
and I always told when I was in high school, I said, I will never take that. I don't like math. I'm not really good at it. Here I am today doing all the equations. And so I'm like, oh, don't ever say you can't do something because it's possible. So
Oh,
yeah,
and
that's
see,
me.
Awesome.
here I am being like, yeah, I also am not a fan of math and can never, can't really picture myself down that. But I can imagine that it's exciting when you are learning something and then you're able to immediately take that back to your students. And Jake can echo this, but one of the most, I think, I would say common things that at least I'm seeing is people who have gone through Persevere that we've interviewed with Voices of Persevere being lifelong learners and like this commitment. I mean,
Yes.
this has been a consistent
Yes.
pattern that we see with a lot of our graduates who are pursuing other education opportunities. So I'd love to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I think just part of being in the digital space is being a lifelong learner. Things are changing so fast. There are new programs, new languages, just new applications, new large language models, right? Lots of open source material. And so I think one of the biggest challenges in this space is just staying aware of what's current. So yeah, I love to hear that. Tiana, what we're going to do is we're just going to do what we always do and just have a conversation, sharing your story and letting our audience and our viewers hear the wonderful things that have happened in your life and how you're making a change in the space. And I'm going to let Emma start us off today.
Yes, yes. And so, really, to get us kickstarted, Tiana, if you wouldn't mind, take us back to the moment that you first saw that Persevere flyer while you were in prison and what was going through your mind and what made you decide to apply despite being told no by other programs. That's something I know that we talked about before.
Yeah. So I remember it like it was yesterday because it was something that I always go back to and always helps me in decisions I make today. Um, so at that moment when I saw the flyer, we were all kind of looking because we were like, oh, this is something new. This is something cool. And then I got excited, but then I had immediately felt doubt. I immediately was like,
Mm.
I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to apply. My friend at the time was getting released. She was going to be leaving within, I think, a few days. And she was like, just do it. Just do it. And so I was like, okay, I'll, at least if I do it, I can say I did it. Even if I don't make it, at least I can say I already know I put my best foot forward. So if I don't get it, that's okay. I tried. So
Yeah.
that was the immediate thought was I didn't think I was going to be able to get it because like you guys are saying, I told you before, I just had so many no's, like shutdowns, doors have been closing. Like I said, they were trying to release me on thinking of a new law had came to pass, but it wasn't. So I had just got that door shut in my face, like, hey, you're getting released today. And then it was, oh, psych, no, you're not. Go back
Mm.
to the yard. And then I see this flyer saying, uh, talking about Persevere and what they're going to be offering us. And one thing I do know of programs in prison, a lot of those programs, some of them, they promise us so much and deliver nothing. It's
Mm.
always, oh, you'll get this or you'll get that, or you can apply, but when you apply, it's like, oh, wait, this wasn't for you. We were really talking to this specific group of people, but not you. Or you'll see the requirements. You must have less than 6 months. And I'm like, oh, well, I still have a year and a half. That doesn't apply to me. Or um, what your level is, because there's different phases and levels when you're in there. It must be this. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not there. So it was really discouraging, but I did it. And I'm proud I did it. So
Yes.
Yeah,
I love that. I love
absolutely.
that.
For
I think
sure.
oh, and I'm sorry, I was gonna say I know that there are
Go ahead.
times looking back, I think having kind of that mantra of, you know, I can give this a chance, at least I can look back regardless of how that turns out, right? I can look back and say, I tried, right? I
mhm,
tried, I put my, like you said, put my best foot forward. And for that, you know, there's no regrets. And in this situation, it worked out, right? It had this
mhm,
positive outcome. So
yes.
Yeah, just echoing what Emma said, right? This idea of, um, we might call it grit, or
mhm.
if we wanted to be a little on the nose, we might call it perseverance,
Yeah.
right? But this idea of not giving up, especially when the odds are stacked against us, right? A reality. One of the reasons that we have this podcast is because we understand that the odds are not in our favor as justice impacted individuals. And so being able to defy those odds and have so many no's and then have a yes, right? Being able to make it's a little juvenile, right? But being able to take lemons and make lemonade, right? Being able to take all of those challenges, allow it to solidify our character and overcome what's in front of us. I love that. And Tiana, your story beautifully depicts that. Um, so
Thank
it's
you.
one of the reasons I'm really excited that you're here with us today. And one of the things that I want to spend some time about, because we mentioned this last time, you said that while you were incarcerated, you kind of almost um, intuitively, right, of your own initiative, picked up graphic design, just something that you appreciated and enjoyed. And that's what you teach today. So I guess my question is, what was driving that hunger in that direction, right? Even when you were receiving all of those no's and all of those challenges, why gravitate toward graphic design?
So the graphic design, what I've always loved to draw. I used to want to become, I had so many what I want to be when I grow up. I was all over the place. But one of the things I wanted to be was a fashion designer. So I really loved drawing. I drew my prom dress and went and had it made. Like I'm always doing something very creative. I love ceramics. I love anything design related. So when that program was introduced to us, I was shocked that I was allowed to go. That was one of the programs. I was like, wait a minute, I can leave the gate and go to class. Like usually for some of us, we can't have certain jobs or have certain programs. We're only
Mm.
limited to what's on available on the yard. But this, I was able to go to the print shop and I was able to see all the other girls. They worked in the print shop and they had all the printing presses and they were printing all the news flyers that were going out over the yard. So that was very interesting to me to see just the history of designing and the history of from newspapers to digital flyers to how it blossomed. I will admit, I didn't like going at first because it was early in the morning and it was all day long. It was about 7 hours every day. I did not
Oh,
like
wow.
that. Sitting in class in the first few months of class was just learning about newspapers, about the,
Mm.
how they, and that wasn't, it was interesting, but a few months of that, come on, it was getting boring. But when we got to the
You're like,
good
I need to be
stuff,
more hands-on.
right, like what are we doing? I see everyone else on their computers designing, and I'm in the first phase of just reading books, looking at old newspapers and learning the different fonts that they used back then, just the whole upbringing of where we are today when it comes to digital marketing. So, but when I got to the computers, that's when it just shifted. And that class was only supposed to be a year-long class. I milked it for 3.5 years. They were like, "You haven't graduated yet?" And I'm like, "Nope, I'm still here." And so the instructor, he was like, "Why don't I just make you my teacher's aide, and then you can stay here and you can help other students?" I was like, "Thank you." So I did that. And I loved it. I used to draw all different type of cartoons for people, and I would have my instructor, the instructor, he would print them out, and I would give them as birthday gifts to people. Like, this is your little cartoon character that I created for you. I've mailed them out to my family. It really took me. I don't know. That was a great starting point to introduce me to Persevere. I
Mm.
think if I wouldn't have done that, I'm not sure of how I would have thought about Persevere, because Persevere is coding and building websites. But because my love for graphic design was so strong, I was even more curious of, oh, I get to design a website. That's more than just designing cartoon characters and on Photoshop and Illustrator. I get to actually build a whole website. So that's what kind of helped give me a step up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I would say even, when I first started working at Persevere and what I was able to learn about coding and it's something that I wouldn't have off the bat assumed about. Again, when you hear the phrase coding, I don't assume that that's a creative outlet. I don't know why. I think in my brain, I just associate it with numbers and a lot of typing. And I didn't think about the finished product of what you're getting at the end. And it really is that mix of, yes, numbers and being a little analytical, right? And having to have that kind of problem solving mind, but also really being a creative space. And I think that you have to kind of enjoy that piece of it, right? Especially in like the front end aspects of it. But, you know, as you were going into our next question, you described the Persevere classroom as a place where you didn't always feel like you were in prison, right? Can you take us inside what that felt like day to day and how it started to change, how you carried yourself on the art?
So the first thing that really made it feel like it was not in prison is the way they recognized us. So our two instructors were awesome. So on the yard it's always inmate Turman, or by your prison number, your DOC number. But in there they called us developer Turman, or
Mm.
they said, "You guys are developers when you're in here." So that to me already put me in a space, as for so long I was told I am this inmate and this is what I have to do. And here it was like, you're not that in here. In here you're a developer, you're a creator, you're a designer. So that's what the only type of attitude they accepted from us when we stepped into that classroom. So that off the rip was like, this is something different, because I haven't been seen like a person from looking at when people come in with plain clothes on. When I say that, I mean they're not inmates. So when they come in
Mm.
with plain clothes, it's almost like you just have this mentality of you're less than. And so
Mm.
it kind of weighs on your confidence. It weighs on your mental, and it just puts you in a space of, I'm not capable of making choices unless my choices are approved by someone else. So in
Yeah.
that class, it's like they gave us the freedom to make our own choices and to see our creative thoughts come out on our websites. And that was like an escape. It was like, okay, I'm not confined to think how you want me to think when I'm on the yard, because I couldn't even make my bed how I wanted to, or align the items on my shelf how I wanted to. I couldn't put my pictures of my family up on my little wall if I wanted to. It was everything down to what I ate every day, what I wore every day. Everything was decided for me. So going into that space, it was like, I get to make a choice today, and the choice is mine to make. And whatever I make, I can see it come to life. And that was the start of waking me up, because I guess I had been so dormant so long with just submit to the system, submit to the things you can't do. If you can't go there, don't question why. If you can't eat that, that's okay. I won't ask any questions. I won't try to go against it, because I don't want to get in trouble. I want to have my the things that they were allowing us to have, like rec time and stuff like that. But yeah, Persevere just created a whole different space, and I'm really thankful for that, because not only did we code in there, we would get in a circle, we turn all of our desks, our chairs around, and we all face the middle, and we'd have like a mental outlet. Like we would just talk about, all right, is there any blockers that's going on for you today? Whether that's in class or outside of class, what's going on today? And then we would also have the support specialists and the mentors come in and speak. And I remember when Alexis Tressler came in and spoke. And those moments where you have outside people speaking about what they're going through, no, she wasn't incarcerated, but she dealt with it from her parent. And for me, that was something I've dealt with. My mom was incarcerated from my ages 9 to 11. So I automatically just clicked with her, and I was just sitting in the little Persevere classroom looking at her, and I'm like, oh man, I felt those same things. So it just took us out of a space where I was understood, where the guards, they don't necessarily care your background. There's some that do, that are very nice and understanding, but there's some that's like, this is my job. I don't care if you fell down and broke your foot, get up and figure it out. But in that space, we were able to see people look at us that went through similar paths as us, and who have made it. And it only made it better when I got out, and she just happened to be my mentor. And I was like, I remember looking at you on the screen, and now I'm free, and I'm looking at you now, and I'm like, it was so different. So yeah, that's how them allowing us to be creative and calling us developers is what allowed me to feel like I'm not an inmate. I have other identities other than what they call me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful.
For sure. For sure. When we visited originally, Tiana, you told us about just a really difficult situation. There was a moment when you had to report an officer, and because of that, you faced some real backlash. And I remember that you said you treated that situation like a piece of code. You stepped away and you let it work itself out. How did the program, or how did coding teach you to think that way?
So I will say my instructor, he gave us a lesson, and he told us, he was on the screen because it was all virtual, and he said, we're going to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today. And he said, I want you guys to give me the steps that it takes. So we had to each go around, and each person would name just one step. And some of the steps we've realized we're missing, like the steps of getting up and going to the kitchen first. We were already saying, get your bread and put the jelly on it. But he was like, get my bread from where? Put the jelly on it how? Where is the jelly? So when I thought of that, and I thought of everything we do, there's a process and there's a step. And if you miss a step, it could be detrimental to your outcome. So to me, and then it even solidified when I went to sleep that night. I went back to my cube, and I went to sleep, and I had a dream about code, and I was dreaming that all my family members kept disappearing. And so in code, you have an opening tag and a closing tag. If you don't have your closing tag, it can mess up your whole entire,
Yes.
website. or app, whatever you're creating. But in my dream, my family kept disappearing. And when I was going through the code, I was like, why is my family disappearing? I was like, I forgot the closing tag. I forgot this little step. So when I woke up, I just started from that moment, I really just started applying how I attack code as how I can do that in my everyday life. And I started seeing it works. So that's what caused me to say, well, you know what would I do if this was a piece of code? If there's a problem in the code, what would I do? First, I may try to figure it out myself. I may ask someone else for help. That doesn't work. Then I need to take a break from it. I need to step away from it. And I need to look at it at a different view, maybe a bird's eye view, the bigger picture of it. And so that's what I had to do in that situation, because I realized there's nothing I can initially do to solve this problem right now. So I need to step away from this problem and allow other people who can step in, because I'm going to mess it up. I may forget a closing tag. I may forget something, and everything is going to disappear. Everything that I worked hard for is going to be messed up. So that's how I attacked that issue. And I realized, oh, it worked. Like
I
it
love
worked.
that. And I'm also pleased to know that I am not the only one that has dreams where VS Code is involved. I remember the first time I had a coding dream. I thought, this is so weird. It was almost lucid, because I think I knew in the dream that it was a dream, but I had lost my Postgres database and could not find it. And I thought, I haven't backed this up. I can't go to another version, right? I'm going to get fired because I lost all of this data. And then I woke up thinking, you are such a nerd. If you tell people this dream, they're not going to appreciate it. So that that validation is something I appreciate. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes.
Well, I I was gonna say I had a French teacher in high school who had said the moment you start dreaming in another language, it must mean it's really sticking. And
Yeah.
we do say coding is like another language, right? You're learning how to
Yes.
communicate with these things. So it must have been really sticking for you all for it to be in your dreams like that. So, well, Tiana, kind of moving, post graduating from Persevere onto your time at Banyan Labs, you said that initially that did not feel like it was quite your purpose at the time. And you talked about, going through that process and then meeting up with Alexis, who you mentioned earlier, and she had asked you to start working with youth. And that really shifted for, your present, for the time being. And I don't know, sorry, I feel like, Jake, you might have to edit that out, but I got a little tongue tied. But kind of talk us through that moment of shifting from Banyan Labs, not feeling like that was your purpose, to working with youth and feeling like you made it there.
So even though I loved creating websites for clients, I loved that work because it gave me a creative outlet. I just still felt like I'm missing a piece. Like I'm missing something. I'm missing that connection. I'm just missing that talking to people. Now, another one of the things I want to be grown up. I already said fashion designer. I also want to be a therapist. So the list goes on. I have so many things, but that part of me wanted to still speak to people and uplift people. And what I had told my grandma while I was still in jail, I was like, I want to encourage other teens that are going through similar things, that like me, and show them that there's a way out, that there's other options. You don't have to just succumb to your environment if it's not productive, that you can find another way. So when I got into Banyan Labs, I felt like that piece was missing. I wasn't able to really help like I wanted to. But when Alexis came and was wanting me to speak to the youth, it clicked. I said, this is it. This is how I can bring two worlds together and really build on that, on my purpose. I love creating. I love coding. I love graphic design. I love that, but I also love people. I love being of service to people. I love helping people, and I love sharing, what I've been through, to maybe give someone else like a little bit of a hope that don't stop, keep going. It does get hard. It does get kind of, but just knowing that I found what it is my purpose is was I still think of it today. Like just the other day I was sitting back and I was like, oh, this I actually know what I want to do. Like someone had always asked, what would you do for free if you could? For the rest of your life. If you could pick any job, if you could do it for free, what would it be? And that would be that. It'd be teaching and helping others. That is something that I would love to do. Banyan was the stepping stone because Banyan Labs taught me the essentials that I would need to create websites in order to teach it. So a lot of the skills I learned from Banyan Labs, they just taught me a lot of the skills that I needed to be. If I didn't have Banyan Labs and then going straight into Persevere, I think I still would have struggled a little more. But Banyan was like it was building me. It was like the building
Mm.
blocks. And then it was like, all right, you're ready. And then handed me off to Persevere. And then that was like, all right, take off. So yeah.
I love
Certainly.
that.
I love it.
And I currently work as the account solutions manager at Banyan, and I have nothing but good things to say about the program and the institution. And Shindia Harden, who we both know, who is just amazing and wonderful in so many ways. I'm so thankful that not only do we have a rigorous curriculum that gives our students the foundations in the tech space that they need, but also Banyan Labs to give them that on the job training, that real world experience, because I think that is the game changer, right? It's not a we hand you a diploma and wish you the best of luck. We say, now here is a sandbox where you can practice these skills, you can build real world products, right? And learn about agile methodologies, solutions briefs, new languages, right? The full software development lifecycle. So I just really appreciate that, and I know that you share that as well. I want to talk about something else that you mentioned last time, Tiana. I apologize. It sounds like I'm bringing up all of the rough stuff, and so we didn't plan on it that way. It's just kind of the way it's working out. But you mentioned in our last conversation that in one of your classes as an instructor, you had a challenging student who just kept nitpicking your lessons, telling you everything that was wrong, right? And as an instructor, we want to always do what's best for our students. We don't want to react and say, shut your pie hole or anything like that. But we also have to deal with the situations. And instead of shutting down or pushing back, you had this really amazing idea to create this whole assignment where it was that student's job to correct you. Number one, where did that idea come from? And what did that moment teach you about yourself as a teacher?
So I think it just went back to that moment of where I first learned how to use code in my everyday life decisions. So that was one of those step back, look at it from not from myself, but as maybe a third person sitting in. What would they
Mm,
see if they saw our interaction? They would probably see, hey, well, maybe you should kind of tailor, everyone learns differently. Maybe that's the way he learns. So I had to become
yeah,
that I had to become that person on my own shoulder and talk in my own ear and say, sit back, take some time. Cause that was really it was hard at first because I was dealing with, just maybe I was like, well, maybe I'm not equipped to be an instructor. I didn't go to
mm,
college and become this, professor at a university. Maybe all of my terms aren't technical. I started doubting myself and I realized, okay,
yeah,
if I'm doubting myself, those aren't my thoughts. Those are just negative thoughts. And I need to separate myself from that. And so just looking at it from a student, I had to put myself in a lot of different shoes other than my own. So the person on my shoulder and his shoes. How is he feeling when he's asking me all these questions as a student? What is he really looking for? And so I realized that the bottom line, he's just looking for solutions. So if I
yeah,
can create a curriculum that will help him find those solutions, then he's learning and I need to not look at it as he's attacking me. Maybe he was. I didn't choose. I feel like our perception of things can become our reality. So I
hmm,
just didn't allow that to become my reality, that he's nitpicking. Because at first it was, I said, nope, because if you think that, then it will become that and it'll cause the temperature in the room to not be at a place where I want it to be. I want it to be a safe space because I do have other students there as well. So I don't want them saying, oh, they're about to get into it again. They're going to get into it. I was like, no, I don't want that. So yeah, I built that curriculum. And it was, he loved it. He laughed at it. Because I even brought it up. I said, yeah, I got something perfect for you today. And he was like, oh, what do you have today? And I said, look, I have all of these errors in this code and I need you to fix them. And so he lit up and was like, I can do this because that let me make him feel empowered. So I was able to kind of put the ball in his court and allow him to feel as though he is the creator in his own little universe. So whereas I'm not bringing him into my space, I'm going into his, and we're going to make you feel empowered. And what do you need? Because I remember my instructors. I loved my Persevere instructors in prison. They caught on really quickly what my skill was, and that was design. So they always made sure questions that they asked me were questions that tailored around design so that I can understand the code. Because I knew that's just like my uncle, he's really good at music. So my grandma taught him math by using music notes to help him catch on. So for me, I realized my instructors, they allowed me to grasp the concepts by putting it in a design way. So if I could do the same thing with him, with putting the concepts in you are an awesome debugger, that is a skill that a lot of people, some don't have. They can't find the errors, but that is a skill a lot of companies want to know. Can you solve this issue if something breaks? So I allowed him to feel empowered, and it made our relationship in the class a lot better. We were able to joke around with things and it bring laughter to the class and fail together and succeed together because some problems are harder than others. So I gave him a space where it's okay to fail right now, but we're going to get it eventually. So that's how that came.
Love that.
I think that is really inspirational, the way that you work with students. And are you all still able to hear me?
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry. I lost my screen for a second. Apologies for that, y'all. My screen just kind of disappeared. But I think it's really inspirational the way you handle that, because I know, even putting myself in that position, if I were you, right, I think it could be easy to feel defensive or to feel attacked. I know you use that. So I think the ability to remove yourself and view it from an outside perspective is a practice that we could put into anything in life, and it's going to be beneficial, right? To not always have an emotional reaction off the bat, or to not assume or make assumptions about how someone is perceiving us. Again, I think it's just inspirational that you have navigated working with your students in that way. And, one other thing that you mentioned to us about your students is that you pray over your students before class. So will you kind of talk to us about how your faith shows up in the way that you teach, and how you hold space for that without imposing it on other people?
Yep. So, yep, I do like to just kind of pray over myself, pray over the class, pray over the environment. So as soon as they come in, I really feel like since we're virtual, it's really hard. When you walk into a room, you can just feel if the people around you are sad, if they're mad, if they're angry, if they're happy. But virtually, it's really hard to gauge that. So I always just try to pray that I'm able to create a space for my students to feel comfortable, feel like they can come to me and talk to me about anything. And then also pray for myself, giving myself patience. I don't know what my student is going through today. They may have a bad day today and come into class angry, upset, the camera's off, don't want to participate. How am I going to receive that? Am I going to look at it and say, well, you don't want to participate, then I'm going to tell your support specialist to drop you from the class? Or am I going to have a little more patience and maybe pull them to the side after class? Hey, what's going on? So that's what I usually do before, just so that I can come and be of service and not allow because I may have had a bad day today. I may have, and then I'm a little grumpy, and then my student comes in and maybe is asking me a million questions that I don't know the questions to. And that can be frustrating when a student asks you something that you don't know. it can kind of make you feel like, oh, I don't even know how to answer this. So I try to set the tone to where, okay, I'm at peace, I'm calm, so that they can see that, they can feel it, they can see my facial expressions. And then I'm not sure how it worked, but it did work because a lot of my students would come to me and actually like talk to me about their faith just out of the blue. And it wouldn't be like, I would never put what I believe in out there because I just, I don't want to offend anyone. I'm here to teach you guys full stack. I'm not here to be, you're your preacher for today. So I allow that space. If they wanted to come to me and talk, I always tell them, if you guys need something, need to talk about something, had a bad day today, just remember I'm here for that as well, because that's what my instructors did. We had those moments in class where they would have, okay, let's almost like coding yoga, kind of like, oh, we're gonna hoosah, so I tried to, even though classes weren't that long, I tried to always incorporate that. And a lot of my students took advantage of that and would come to me and share things with me and talk to me. And one student I had, she was great. Towards the end of the class, she ended up wanting to talk to me about something, and we stayed on the meeting after class for like 2 hours of her just dumping what she's going through and how it may be affecting her participation in class, and then me giving solutions on, okay, this is, maybe we can work on this. I gave her some tips that I was doing, taking a step back, or talking it out with someone. That always helps you solve a problem. If you're like, okay, because every time I say, oh, my computer doesn't work, and I say, hey, come help me. So when I click here, this goes wrong. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, it works now. Sometimes you just have to talk yourself through it with someone else there, and you'll fix your own problem. But that just allowed me to have the mental capacity to give that to her and to receive whatever she was telling me in a safe space, so she didn't feel like she was burdening me or taking up my time. Because like I said, we stayed on the call for a very long time. I was telling her about, what I've been through, and she was much older than me, but we had so much in common that it was a great experience to have. And I don't think I would have been able to have that if I didn't take that mental space before class and prepare myself for whatever my students may bring to the class.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just bouncing off of that idea, you had mentioned to us in our initial meeting that early on, you would say a prayer that where you would say, God, whatever comes out of this, right, I need it to be meaningful. And you used a phrase that hits me really powerfully. You said, a life was taken, so help me give life. And I love that. Looking at where you are now, Tiana, what would you say to 18-year-old Tiana all of those years ago? What advice would you give her?
Oh, that one is such a tough one because, oh, that poor girl, she was going through it, and I'm trying not to like tear that up.
It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely okay.
But I would think I would just tell her to stay determined,
Yeah.
and believe in yourself, because I don't know, that young girl was just, that 18-year-old me was just so hurt. She was so hurt, broken, that I don't even know if words would have helped. I
Yeah.
think just support and just that person, just someone being there right with her every step of the way. Because at that time, the aloneness, just the feeling so separated from everyone. I mean, I never went to a doctor's appointment without my mom. The first thing they asked me when I went in was, "Hey, the intake officers, what's your social security number?" I didn't even know. That was information that you would think, oh, you're 18, you should know, but I didn't. Like, I was a mommy's girl. Like, so just feeling so alone, I think I would just want to tell her that you're not alone. You have a presence about you that speaks volumes, and don't let anyone dim that light that you have, because I went through my whole time feeling just so separated and isolated from everything. Even though I lived in a bay that had over it was 300 girls per bay. So it's one big looked like one big barn split up in
Mm.
three sections. So altogether it was like 1,300 women in that one bay. And you would think, oh, how can you feel alone? But I did. So I don't know. I was thinking about that question. And I was like, what would I tell her? What would I tell her? Like if she walked in the door right now, like what would I tell her? I don't know. I don't think I would tell her to change anything about herself, but maybe just change her surroundings, change the
Yeah.
people around you. You're beautiful as you are. You're going to be great as you are. But the people around you are holding you down. The people around you are going to take you places you don't want to go, and those places are prison. So change those people. But I don't think I would be who I am today if I didn't go through some of the trials that I've been through. And I always told myself,
Yeah.
why did I have to learn this lesson the hard way? Why did someone's life have to be taken for me to get to where I am today? Was there another route I could have taken to still land here? Because this is
Yeah.
here right now is where I dreamed of when I was a teenager. I was dreaming of the car I was going to drive, dreaming of owning a home, dreaming of having a family. I have all those things now, but I just wish it didn't have to be like that. But I still needed the lessons. I still needed the trials. I still needed all of that to sharpen me up. But sometimes I still wish it was different. But I don't know that I might really have to think about that harder. And if I ever write a book, that's going to be the starting page. Me talking to an 18-year-old girl maybe that's what the book will be about me talking to her and us having a conversation about life. So, I don't know. You just
Yeah.
gave me an idea.
Well, I appreciate your vulnerability, and I'm so glad that you can be that person of support and that person that can walk alongside um students now, and working with
Yes.
you've worked with youth, you've worked with young adults, and I know that the work that you've done has made an impact. So I hope that that's not something that you ever second guess or doubt. So we
Mhm.
just really appreciate that on our end for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think that's why I feel like that this is my purpose, because I don't know what to say to myself, but I know what to say to the other youth. I know what to say
Yeah.
to them. I know how to reach out to them. For me, I'm still, struggling, but when I talk to them or I talk to someone else, it's like, man, I wish someone talked to me like this. I wish someone
Mhm.
guided me like this. I wish someone was patient with me like this. Or even understood that I'm hurting inside and knew how to get me, because I was so quiet and I didn't express myself emotionally a lot. I just wish I had that safe space to be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm being bullied at school today, mom. I didn't really, I was so separated. I don't know why, but I just was. So me being able to speak to youth, it's like me recreating that childhood that, I wanted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I I love just the dichotomy there of um, I feel like maybe you've encountered some imposter syndrome, which I think is what a lot of us just go through. But if there's anything that you have demonstrated on this call, Tiana, it is that you are the ideal teacher for your students. You understand them, you think creatively, looking past what they might be masking, right? And finding the real underlying causes and addressing those causes in a compassionate way, right? Not ever forsaking the idea of doing what's best for your students, even when they seem to be causing issues, right, for the class. Um, that's the mark of a real teacher, is being able to do that for every single one of the people that sit at your feet and learn. I just love that so so much, and I appreciate what you said about what you might say to your younger self, because I think it applies to all of our Persevere students, right? People who are just now starting the curriculum, they need to hear that. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Emma, thank you so much for being just a great partner and a great co-host, and sharing in these stories. I always appreciate your insight and your wisdom. And If you're listening and you heard something that made you think, I want to be a part of that mission, or I want to help in some way, you can visit us at perseverenow.org. That's perseverenow.org, and someone will be sure to reach out.
And it's okay.
Tiana,
I'm always second guessing how to spell persevere when I'm not looking right at
oh
it.
my
So
goodness. Yes.
no worries.
Tiana, Emma, it's been so great to see both of you, and I hope that you have a great, great day.
And Tiana, thank you. I just want to reiterate, thank you so
Yes.
much for your time today.
Yes, and thank you for creating this platform so that we can share our experiences. I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Bye bye.